Tapu, assalamu alaikum, namaste, haru nefer. This is Kasank Maat Kaparu with another video for you. In this video, I'm going to talk about what is death and karma. But before I do that, I want you to like button on this video, hit that like button. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe bell to get notifications on when I go live and when I upload recorded videos. Also, we have free ebooks for you that expand on my spiritual teaching. If you're interested in learning more, just scroll down below, click on the links, so you can download those ebooks and start reading today. And lastly, if you want to follow the rabbit down the rabbit hole to learn more on your spiritual journey, you can become a Patreon supporter for as little as $1, $5, or $20 per month. There's no obligation. You can cancel at any time, and you'll get exclusive access to instructional videos, videos on the esoteric, videos to teach you how to meditate, how to astral project, how to do self-hypnosis to get rid of negative habits and conditionings, videos that teach you how to read the tarot, become a diviner, and so much more. So become a Patreon supporter today. Finally, share this video with family and friends so we can get the revolution started. Haru Nefer. So let's jump right into this. What is death and karma? A lot has been talked about that. I want you to know that you are living in the dark ages. You are living in a backward society, one that makes you afraid of anything that has to deal with the metaphysical. You have been educated and taught by the dominant elite, the society, to fear things like meditation, trance, death, spirits. Movies from Hollywood pump out propaganda like Poltergeist and things of that nature, The Exorcist, to make you afraid of the ancestors, the spirits, because the ruling elite, the cabal, the real rulers of the planet, not your George Soros and your Rockefellers and your Elon Musk, but those who are super trillionaires who have amassed the most wealth. You see, you think that, Jeff Bezos of Amazon is the most richest person in the world. No, the richest individuals on this planet are behind the veil. They're hidden. They are trillionaires. You will never, ever see them. Their front men and women are people like Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, and Elon Musk, all of them, but they are not the rulers. So those individuals who rule the planet hide behind the veil. They are what the Wizard of Oz talked about, is the wizard who you will never see, who they will never expose themselves. Now, what they've done is they've constructed a world, a society, a way of life that makes you afraid of anything to do with the metaphysical. They tell you, well, we don't really understand what happens at death. They know what happens at death. Stop the BS. They know what happens at death. But they teach from a very concrete perspective. See, they have encapsulated the world into concrete left brain polarized thinking. And when you think from that perspective, it gives rise to things like racism, sexism, and also it skews scientific data. It makes sure that you will never dive deep into other areas that could expand your awareness of the world, the universe, and dimensions, which is the right brain, which is nonlinear thought process. Conventional psychologists always want to handle things from a verbal discourse, guiding you verbally, and hopefully you'll come to an epiphany. Because that's all they can do, because when you're operating out the left brain deals with verbal communication. It deals with concrete thinking. It deals with linear thinking. It is so limited. And that's why the ruling elite has made sure that the entire planet is caught up in that. It has forced this way of thinking globally, legitimized it. This is why they have sought to destroy all other civilizations that thought differently, that used integrated brain thinking. Because those civilizations pioneered research into astral projection, into after-death experiences, into karma, what happens to the soul when it dies. Our ancestors already documented that. They knew what happened. Read the Bhagavad Gita. We know, we documented it. These are sciences, not superstition. You're dealing with very ignorant people who don't know anything. I mean, those so-called scholars and the individuals who are head of the universities, they're very ignorant. They're the ones that came up with racism. They're the ones that classified people according to this fictitious thing called race. Because that's the only way they could think when you're polarizing left brain thinking. Where our ancestors started to pioneer research into the soul, where it travels, what happens after death, what is karma. Our ancestors researched all of this through their so-called near-death experiences, or using certain herbs like DMT and ayahuasca and papyrus. They went into the afterlife, experienced it, they came back with a wealth of knowledge. The priests and priestesses were scientists, pioneers. These priests that we see today around us are joke, they're cartoon characters. They're laughable. Our priests put themselves in harm's way, put themselves into a death state so they could have their soul travel to the duat, the underworld, and document what was there and come back and give that information to the masses of people in the nation so that we would know that there is hope after life. But this world wants to frighten you. So they give you a little girl watching TV going, they're here. Spooky stuff to scare you of the ancestors who are coming back to communicate with you. You must be afraid. I walked into the house and it said, get out. My ancestors never told me to get out. That never happened to me. But you have to be afraid. They have to keep you afraid, deaf, dumb, and blind to what happens in metaphysical realms. They don't want you to know that your soul can travel to Alpha Centauri, the closest galaxy, without a rocket ship, without the Enterprise. You can travel there. You can experience different planets, different realms. But they don't want you to know that. Hetepu, Maat, son child, how are you? They don't want you to know all this knowledge. Except they trap you in fear-based thinking, fear-based programming. You see, death is merely the transition, the move from your consciousness, your waking state, because the Book of the Dead, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, is really the book of coming forth by day and by night. The Port Amaru is where your consciousness is focused, your Haru faculty, your waking faculty. If consciousness is focused and polarized in this space-time continuum, then when what this body, physical body, ceases to exist, I merely shift to a new vibrational frequency, to a different parallel reality where I will experience a different space-time continuum, a different life. I will quantum leap to a different existence. I will not die. The physical body will fade away. But consciousness continues on and on and on and on and on. It keeps rocking, baby. It keeps rocking. Jovian Hudson, Hatepu. You are a multidimensional being. You have no beginning, will have no end. You have always been and always will be. But they trap you in the animal spirit, the Sahu aspect of you. Therefore, you become afraid. You are afraid to oppose the government system, the status quo, because you're afraid of losing your life because they tell you it's only one life to live. No, my beloved, you're all powerful. And when you work with astral projection and you're able to project your astral body into a new dimension and interact with dimensional beings, you will feel a sense of freedom and liberation that you have never felt before. And especially if you have the fortune of going to the fifth dimension, you will feel a profound sense of oneness. See, the fifth dimension is where we have disabled that mechanism called the ego. We have disabled it. We have nullified it. And when that is nullified, the id, the ego, and the superego, you then become one with all and you experience source. You are connected with all that there is. And you feel a profound sense of love and oneness. But they don't want you to experience that, so they make it illegal for you to be delving into things like DHT and ayahuasca. They don't want you to experience that because DHT and ayahuasca nullify the ego. It kills that ego. And the ego is set within you. See, when you become a master, a magi, a magician, then your life will be magical. Let me give you an example. I was sick, and I told you I went to the hospital emergency room, and at that time, things started breaking down in my house, my dishwasher, my central air, refrigerator. And I knew that it was reality mirroring back to me my reality, since my physical being, my Geb, was sick and needed to go to the emergency room. Things in my house started to break down. But when I got better, we were able to get these things repaired fairly quickly. However, one of the repairmen came along and says, listen, your attic is full of dust, and that's coming from central air. The attic has collected all type of dust everywhere. And I said, that makes sense. I have been going through a lot of trauma, and I have collected in my subconscious mind a lot of negative thoughts. So it only makes sense that my attic would mirror that back to me, collecting all kinds of dust. He says, well, we're going to have to clear that out. And I said, we are. I'm going to meditate and purge myself of those negative conditionings while you get rid of all that dust in my attic. And then things will come back into balance. See, we in a Kemetic society looked at omens as a sign of who we are, our state of health. When you are a whole brain thinker, then you look at things in their totality. You begin to understand and put the pieces together. You see, you're not living if you don't know what your past life was about. You're not living. Because what you're doing is just repeating the mistakes of your past life because you don't know. You are supposed to come back with a knowledge of what has happened to you in your past life, so that you can prevent yourself from repeating those things over and over again and getting caught up in the karmic experience. You understand? They want you to be reincarnated, to keep them in servitude, keep you in servitude of them. They need you to be their minions. They need you to be subjugated to their will, so that when you are in the afterlife, in the inner planes, there is what we call is the mind wipe, the memory wipe. And your memory is wiped so that when you go to your next life, you'll have a fresh start. But you are supposed to remember the past life. Your goal is to not undergo the memory wipe. You want to retain the memory of your past life. So that there will be continuity. So if we had the masses of people on the planet who would retain the memory of their past life, we would come back with so much wisdom and knowledge that we could correct the problems of the world. Let me say it again. If the masses of people could retain the memory of their past life, we would be born into this life and we would correct the problems of this world. Because we would have so much wealth and knowledge from the trials and tribulations of our past life. I know in my past life, I had trouble with relationships. And I know why I have trouble with relationships in this life. And I know why Maat is my mother. Maat is the goddess of relationships. She needs me to work that out so I don't keep coming back and have to deal with that. But you see, the society needs you to be afraid of ghosts, spooks, ancestors, spirits, gods, and goddesses. They want you to fear that. They want to label that as superstition, the occult, the paranormal. It is the paranatural. It is more real than real. I want you to understand that, my beloved. Understand you are dealing with the most ignorant of the ignorant people. And when they go to church, it's the blind leading the blind, the dumb leading the dumb. Oh, praise God. Praise Jesus. Praise Jesus. Jesus is going to give me that lotto number. I'm going to be free. I'm going to be rich. Praise Jesus. High glory. High glory. Your ancestors left you gold. gold in your culture, the Kemetic spirituality, the Kemetic system, the goddess Aset, Isis, traveled the planet to find the pieces of Osiris, to put Osiris back together, to remember, and left this legacy to you, and you cast it away. No, it's all right. It's that Kemetic stuff. It's that Kemetic spiritual stuff that, you know, these people are into. You have a science that will explain to you what goes on in this world and your life. And you throw it away. These people don't know Ma'at. They don't know truth, justice, and righteousness. Ma'at is a foreign concept to them. There was no Ma'at in ancient Greek. There was no Ma'at in ancient Roman civilization. They did away with that. They copied a lot of all other deities. They copied Haru, but they got rid of Ma'at. And then they finally put it back in place with this woman in the scales of justice, and the scales of justice are tipped in their favor. Death is not the end. Death is the liberation from the physical being Geb. And when you go to the hall of Ma'ati and you face Osiris, Ma'at, Sebek, and they replay your life, it is not for punishment. It is so that you understand that you have a mission, which is to live out your destiny and to bring balance back to the energies. See, if we really understood the totality and holistic thinking of how this works, you'll understand that if you go out there and if you kill somebody, if you harm somebody, you are karmatically attached to them now. Your karma now is attached to them. So when you pass on, you will be reincarnated and they will come and be intertwined with you. They may be your brother, your sister, a friend, a person who mugs you. This is why we have to be very careful of how we treat other people and how we deal with people. You don't want to become karmatically attached to these people. My uncle did something very foul to me. And I could have did a ritual and could have taken him out. I could have did a death ritual, which would have had him die in a car accident. I had the opportunity to do that. And I said, yes, I could do that. I could do the ritual. But I don't want my karma to be attached to him. I don't want to have to be reincarnated and him come back at me and us continue this hatred and this divisiveness. So I take the higher road. I let it go. Therefore, my karma is free. I won't be attached to him. My mate, we fist fight and we argue, but at the end, we make sweet love. Because we know that if we get too emotionally wrapped up and argue and get hatred and anger, that's going to attach us karmatically, and we're going to keep reincarnating together, and we don't want to do that. Many people who die in plane crashes or car accidents, the people that they're with, that's a karma. They're all attached to one another, and they're going to come back reincarnated, and they're all going to have to go through a very different but kind of similar experience. Because you're supposed to be able to work that out. You're in the plane. The plane's about to crash, and it's going down. Engine stall. And you look around and you praying. No, look around to everyone on the plane and say and make the agreement. We're going to do this peacefully. You understand? Do we all agree that we are going to die? But we can die in horror and fright and be karmatically attached, or we can be at peace with this before we die. And if we are at peace with this, our attachment will be severed. That's how you do it. That's how you're supposed to do it. In the face of your death, you must be at peace. You do have it within you. Amen. That state of peace, a peace that nothing can challenge, is within you. God gave you that as a safety mechanism. God is so merciful that no matter what torment, abuse your physical body is going through, your psyche is going through, God says you have the opportunity to turn inward, to take your consciousness. God gives you two opportunities. Follow me here. Two things you can do. The first is turn inward and experience peace. God gave you that ability. It's in you. Or God said you can sever consciousness from the physical being and astral project to a new dimension. Whichever one you want to do. God says it's up to you. And science has not admitted that many of our people who have died before their deaths, they separated their consciousness from their body and astral travel to a new dimension, to a new space-time continuum. They didn't allow themselves to be trapped in the body, because when we become advanced as a society, we're going to realize that the soul doesn't have to stay attached to the body. The soul can travel, the soul can move, the soul can possess other things. I can go and possess another body. This is why Tahuti is known as Hermes Trismegistus, thrice great, because he was reborn and reborn and reborn. He knew the science of reincarnation. He mastered the science of reincarnation to where he could separate his consciousness from his body, put himself into a new body, and retain the memory of his past life. Thrice great, thrice reborn. Many people believe karma is, if I do bad to you, you're going to do bad to me. No, that's not it. See, karma is Maat. Maat is reciprocity. Maat is truth, justice, balance. God seeks always to balance, not to punish. Yes, you may have murdered this person, which means that you're going to be karmically tied to them. What does that mean? That means in some way, shape, or form, when you both incarnate, there may be a switch. You may end up murdering them so they understand the folly of their ways. But it's not meant as a punishment. Now, the ruling elite, the cabal, those who rule the planet, understand the science of this. So they try to manipulate the afterlife, the spirit. They try to get it so that your memory wipe continues from life after life after life, so you'll never remember your past life, so the planet can never benefit from the experience of its past life. When you remember everything that happened in your life, in the previous life, you become a whole being. You can now avoid mistakes. You can now impart knowledge onto new generations and people. I had dreams and visions, and I said to myself, wait a minute, I'm a star child. I am not of this planet. I came here from a distant planet. My ancestors are light beings, and they sent me here to guide other people through a type of galactic exchange program to guide souls on this planet. I knew that something was not right about me. When I was very young, a being came to me. It was a light being, and he communicated to me. He talked to me, a physical light being. And I spoke with him. I wasn't afraid. It was natural. Later on, I didn't realize that this wasn't natural. I didn't realize that people don't have that experience. I thought everyone would have that experience. I was telling my mother, I said, yeah, this light being thing, he came to me the other night and we were talking. And she was like, you were talking to a light being? I said, yeah, and we were talking about stuff. And she said, well, what were you talking about? I said, I don't remember, but we had a conversation. She says, and when did this happen? And then that's when I began to realize, I said, well, maybe I shouldn't talk about this because people aren't having this experience. And then later I hooked up with other people, at a conference. And I was just telling people about that. And they were like, oh, you're a star child. I'm like, what's a star child? And then I began to research and understand and realize that the reason I became a priest was part of my destiny. That Maat was my mother, and Maat said, son, I need you to live truth in this lifetime, to follow the true and correct path, to be balanced in your life. And I got the name from a high priestess. She said, your name will no longer be the Western name. It will be Kesank Ma'a Keperu. And I said, what is that? She says, that is the name your mother gave you, the goddess Maat. It means he who consistently lives truth and makes a spiritual transformation. I was like, wow. Took her about 2 months to go into the astral plane to get that name for me. But it was on point. You must understand that you are to not fear death. If you die with fear, anger, and resentment, it will tie you to this existence over and over again, and you will never transcend as a spiritual being. And you will be doing the bidding of the ruling elite because they want you to be trapped in fear. They want you to be trapped in the animal spirit, the Sahu aspect of your being. This was a story of a Sar and a Set. The one thing they did with this world that sent it to hell was to get rid of the notion of Maat, truth. Maat is relational thinking. Maat is right brain thinking. Maat is reciprocity. And when you get rid of that thinking, then you truly go to hell. You don't understand how you are one with other souls. There's only one soul, one consciousness. And we all partake and share in that. So what you do to others will directly impact you. You harm somebody, you are tying your karma to them. You cheat somebody, you're tying your karma to them. Now, if you go to the extreme and you become someone like a Hitler or a serial killer, then Maat sends Harukuhuti after you, the warrior god, the god of justice. And his role is to take you out because you're harming too many other people. So he will cut your head off. But if you don't go to that extreme, you're going to be karmically tied to these individuals, and you will be reincarnated with them, and you will be forced to experience a scenario that will teach you a lesson. But you should retain the memory of your past life so that when you are incarnated into this life, you will understand what happened and try to avoid those mistakes. Many people want to understand why are they going through certain things in this life. You will never understand that unless you go and do hypnotherapy, regression, hypnosis to experience what happened in your past life. You're paying off a karmic debt. I have a wicked karma that kicks my butt big time, and I can't get rid of it. It's going to be here for a while, but I'm learning a lot from it. Sometimes you cannot get rid of that karma. It's going to stay with you for your entire life. That's okay. You must deal with it peacefully. But understand and know that what your goal should be is try not to get tied up in these karmic experiences. Stop doing wrong. Stop cheating. Stop killing. Stop harming other people. And karma exists for the individual as well as the group. White people as a group will have to deal with their karma, and it's going to be wicked. It is going to be wicked. But it's not meant to punish. It's meant to enlighten you. Those individuals, the ruling elite, who've done so much damage and evil, surprisingly enough, in a certain sense, are allowed to do this. God is allowing them to do it. You see, you must understand that there is an infinite number of parallel realities to experience. This reality is among one of an infinite number. And because God wants to experience every possible scenario there is, God allows the ruling elite to rule and to murder people in mass. God is saying, I will allow you to do that. I will allow you to do that so that these individuals will learn from the experience. This is why you must understand when you say, why am I in this world where these people are so evil and vicious that they have raped, robbed, and pillaged third world countries? They have destroyed entire civilizations. Why? Why is God allowing this? Because, my beloved, it's only one life of an infinite number of lives to experience. And God wants you to experience this life. And God has given you a free will. God says, listen, if you don't like it here, you can move on to a different space-time continuum. You can move on. You don't have to be stuck here. Your being stuck here is a false belief system. Remember, Maat is abundance. Maat is God that comes, is the one that comes to many, and the many that comes to one. We all have it within us to experience abundance. That's the fundamental principle of the universe. You can neither add to it nor subtract from it. It is complete. God made it complete. And there's enough for everyone. But the ruling elite will try to tell you, oh, the planet is overpopulated. Oh, the planet's going to be short on resources. It's a lie. It's a lie. But again, they're here because God allows them to be here, because we must experience this scenario. And when you pass on, you will experience another scenario, maybe when you go to another space-time continuum that's ruled by green Martians that are subjugating humans. It's possible. Yeah, you say God gives me free will, yet I'm still here. The only way to leave is through death. No, it's not through death is the only way to leave. I just explained that to you. And you're here because you are here for a reason, to experience the space-time continuum. And as I already said, if you don't like it, you can leave. There's the door. Do you understand? So Maat is you will understand that Maat is your spiritual mother by doing your incarnation objective reading. You must go to the oracle and then do a reading on what your destiny is. And if your destiny is ruled by the goddess Maat, then she is your mother. That is the way to check. All right, we got a set clan in the house. All right, I'm Maat clan, by the way. My destiny reading is Maat. My clan is Maat. My sun sign is Maat. So I got triple Maat. So I got to do right this life. You know what I mean? I mean, if I step out of bounds one little bit, the punishment comes harsh. You know? So you have to understand that we're living in a world that is fear-based programming. It wants to keep us locked in fear of the afterlife, in fear of spirituality. Everything is about trapping you in the mind-body experience. It's the only way they can stay in power. It's the only way they can stay in power is to get you fear-based. We outnumber them, but yet because of the fear, because we're so caught up in the physical being, we don't know that we are the power. You understand? Oh, right. Trance leads to God. That's brilliant. It is true too. That is so true. Because trance leads to the 5D experience, which is the oneness with all, the nullification of the ego, and you become one with Nebecher or Neter. And Maat, son, yes, I do the readings for you. You can sign up on my website. Just scroll down below and you can sign up for an oracle reading. We'll reveal your destiny. When you understand your past life and all the intricacies of it, you will then be able to navigate this life with a bit of ease. You'll understand why you have hardships with relationships, why you can't accumulate money, why your finances are always in flux. Because many of the problems that you have come from the past life. And you must be aware of that. We're running around in the dark, not understanding that our past lives have so much knowledge that we can leverage and use for this lifetime. And I want you to understand that the idea and the notion of a past life is erroneous. It's wrong, because you are a multi-dimensional being. I want you to understand that all of your lives, you're experiencing them right now. Right now. There is no past and future. There's only the present moment now. So as you sit here, you're also in the 17th century. You are also in ancient Kemet. You're also in Atlantis. You're experiencing all of your lives simultaneously right now. The reason you don't know it is because your consciousness is fixed. Your Haru aspect, Haru is the will, Haru is the waking state, the consciousness is fixed on this particular space-time continuum. But it can shift to any other space-time continuum. There is no past. There is no future. There is just this now moment. And you're having an infinite number of experiences right now. And when you die, you will merely shift to a new space-time continuum. You will just quantum leap to that new life and experience that. But you're not recalling things from a past life. You are recalling things from a present experience in a different space-time continuum. That is what is happening. But because Western man has forced their thinking upon us, which is based in left brain linear space-time, they think everything proceeds in a linear fashion. It doesn't. It's more equal to cyclical. It's dealing with cycles. So what do? They concoct the idea of a beginning, middle, and the end. And then you fall victim to that fallacy thinking that there's a past. There is no past. In fact, they have hacked our psyche and they have implanted false memories of a past. We believe that our past is primitive and that technological achievement and advancement proceeds in a linear fashion. Already science has disproven that. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't. So I want you to understand everything you have learned about history is concocted lies. It is not true. And they're finding evidence of that already. Evidence of batteries that we had in ancient Kemet, light bulbs, airplanes. They're finding evidence of all of that. which tells you that they have lied to us. They had to lie. They had to tell us that these right brain, integrated brain societies were backwards to keep us from diving into that realm of the metaphysical. The same way Hollywood puts out its propaganda about haunted houses and spirits and spooks. It's laughable how you'll hear these exorcists or these ghost hunters go into a house and exorcise the ghost, get the ghost out of the house by reading from the Holy Bible, as if the spirits and the ancestors only obey Christian doctrine. If I was a spirit haunting your house and you come in and reading from the Bible, I would laugh at you. But that's part of their propaganda, to instill the Christian doctrine within you, to make their white lies seem legitimized, to make it seem that the only way to save yourself is through an intermediary, through Jesus, through Muhammad or some stupid nonsense like that, so that you will never look in the mirror and realize that you are God. And that those individuals who have passed on are trying to communicate with you. And if you walk into your house and you see evidence of spirits, talk to them. They're your ancestors. They're not to be feared. And then that moment comes, and hopefully we'll never have to experience this anytime soon, when you're face to face with your own death, you will face it with peace, so that you may transition smoothly to the next life and not have to go through a frightening experience, the afterlife. I thank you all for tuning in. If you get an opportunity, please donate to the channel. It helps us to continue writing the ebooks and things of that nature. All right. But keep in mind, you're a multidimensional being having many experiences. And if you get an opportunity, try as best as possible is to dive into your past life, piece it back together again, just like Osset pieced Asir and his pieces, the 14 pieces of Asir, back together again, so that truth could resurrect, so that when you piece your past life together, you'll be a whole being. You'll understand really what your life is about and where you're going. This is Kasank Maat Keperu, son of Maat and Tootie. My aunt is the beautiful goddess Heteru. Until next video, I'm in Ra.